Hi, welcome to Landscape of Mothers. I wanted to talk about some of the goals of Landscape of Mothers. Like, what are we doing and why are we doing it when we're engaging with Landscape of Mothers? And so, one of our goals, we'll stick to one at a time, one of our goals is attunement, right? So, if our goal is our overarching goal is to have a different experience in our family line than the one we grew up in, then there's a couple things that we probably need to add in that likely weren't there in our childhood. And one of those things is attunement. And attunement in psychological terms means that you're able to see, understand, kind of read your child's responses to things. So you're basically there's a whole bunch of several steps to this, right? So attunement is about being able to see your child having their own experience, having their own reactions and things, and then being able to identify where they need something from you. So, and there's a couple different places they can need things. So what we're trying to do in that moment is the tools that we need in order to be attuned to our child is that we need to have a presence, right? We need to be present to the situation. We need to not be doing something else somewhere else in our minds. We need to be here observing the child. This also, I just want to say, is we do the same process when we're doing internal work. So when we're looking at our internal child, or we're trying to figure out why something bothers us so much, we're doing the same process. That is, we bring presence to what's going on, and that's really our mountain mother practice, right? Is that we can show up, we can find our stillness, we can find a place to be observant, and so we can show up in that way. A mountain mother is our gateway to presence. The other thing we need is capacity, and capacity can show up in a couple different mothers, actually. But capacity is really that we have the room inside of us to table whatever's going on for us and actually observe what's going on for the child, right? So these are not mutually exclusive necessarily. They have overlapping space. But so our presence is one thing, like we need to be there and be paying attention. Our capacity is another. What else is going on in our minds or in our lives, or what's needing to be taken care of in the day? And so our capacity expands and contracts all day long, right? The one thing that blows everything up is the one thing that pushes us over capacity for dealing with whatever's in front of us. So our capacity, I think of sometimes as a desert mother thing, but I also think of it as an ocean mother thing. And so in this case, I would probably pull an ocean mother for that the capacity that we have, especially when we're showing up either to our own inner work with an inner child or to our own child, is this, vast, varied, deep, often kind of spiritual practice of capacity. Where Desert Mother holds a little more of a boundaried capacity, like, am I going to say yes or no to this thing? Often we're not in that realm of boundaries. We're in capacity. We're in another realm of capacity, which is to say, like, I'm going to show up to my kid, and how do I do this? And we're pulling on these like vast reserves, and so they're often like kind of us pulling from our depths to show up, or that we're connecting with this greater process that we're in of changing our family lineage around pain and isolation and being alone and things like that. So that's why I would pull on Ocean Mother for that kind of capacity. And then in a related realm, right, would be our detachment from our own stuff. So we have to be able to show up in the room, be present to what's going on here, not worrying about our stuff, and then have enough capacity, enough energy, enough room for whatever's going on for our kid, whether it's our inner child or our child in the room. And And then that detachment, Wind Mother really helps us with that detachment, right? She can help us let go of something for now. So I can decide I'm going to let go of planning dinner, which is what I was doing right now, because I'm seeing that my child is having an experience that needs my attention. So I can choose attunement, and I can sideline the task I was taking care of, right? And Wind Mother can help us do that. When we're in an emotional task for ourselves, or we're doing something emotional, that's when our capacity is often kind of low. And so these things interplay, right? They work with one another, so that when our emotional capacity is low, then dealing with our child's emotional stuff is often very difficult. So there's some discernment to be used in here, but these three mothers can come together. Mountain Mother, Ocean Mother, and Wind Mother can come together to help us show up with attunement, right? Ocean Mother really also brings that sense of our recognition, of our recognition of what's going on in someone else, our ability to kind of plumb our depths and our history in order to take some good educated guesses, right? We can't always know what's going on with someone else, but we can make some guesses. And then with attunement, there's two things. So one is we have to kind of start, like, basic needs need to have already been met for attunement in this realm of like when we have small infants, our attunement is to their basic needs, food, sleep, whatever, burping or something. I have a newborn granddaughter, and so we've been doing a lot of that, attending to basic needs, for care and affection, for safety, warmth, those things. That's first level, and all the way from newborn to however old anyone has ever lived. Those things need to be met first, right? And then we can, if the attunement then is getting more complicated, that is, we have a child who's older, who's struggling to express something, or struggling to deal with how they feel, or struggling to play with a friend, or whatever. We have a more complicated situation, and our attunement provides two things. One is, or it's made of two parts. So we have the tools for attunement in our presence, in our capacity, and in our ability to kind of let go whatever's going on for us in our minds in order to focus on the one in front of us. And then there's two sort of actions basically that come out of that. And one is that we're available to notice what's going on for the person that we're trying to attune to, right? So we're either attuning to our inner child, or we're attuning to our child on the ground, or we're attuning to another adult, and kind of be like, what's going on here, right? We show up and we listen. We're trying to get information. We're trying to assess what the stimulus is and what the response to that in the situation at hand is. And then there's a place where we get to provide a response, right? Our attunement, the goal of the attunement is to be, I don't want to say to be helpful, because sometimes the most helpful thing is that we don't do anything at all. That we're just present, like presence may be the solution or what's needed. But I guess what we're there for mostly in the way of helping is to be present to and present with the person having the struggle, right? Because mostly our traumas and our difficulties come when we experience a struggle or some kind of suffering, and we feel alone, right? We don't always need help. We might need a witness. We might need somebody to just be present, or to know that this thing is happening, or that we've had a hard time or whatever, and then we feel better. So possible responses from an attuned place would be a reflection, kind of putting words to what's happening. So for a toddler, this is something we use a lot, which is like, oh, wow, getting your shoes off looks really frustrating. I'm hearing you yelling. That looks difficult. So we're helping them articulate, we're trying to help them build the language to articulate their experiences, and especially their emotions. Again, these aren't going to be mutually exclusive, but so there's that reflection is one possibility from our attunement. Another one is feedback, that we actually do some kind of help or we instruct. Like I was with my grandson at the park and he went down the slide and then he tried to climb back up it, and I let him kind of try for a while, and that's hard when you're not even 2. And so eventually I said, if you want to go back up there, you have to go over to the stairs that are over here, right? And he finally figured that out, right? So I gave him just a little bit of instruction so that he could make this loop and keep going down the slide, which appeared to be the thing he wanted to do, even though he didn't have the words for it. So I could reflect, you look like you want to come down the slide again. I could instruct. So if you want to go down the slide again, you'll go up the stairs over here. And then, and the first time I actually did like a physical thing, I like picked him up and took him to the stairs, just because I wasn't sure how many of the words that he knew. Anyway, so our feedback can look like actual physical help. It can look like instruction. And then like assistance would be our other approach, which would be more like emotional understanding and like co-regulation, empathy. And again, this is a lot like what I called feedback. And so, don't get too hung up on the words, but the idea is that we have a couple of different ways to use our attunement to like facilitate or reflect or co-regulate, right? We're saying, I'm with you, and I'm with you in whatever way you need me to be with you, whether that's you need my help or my experience or whatever, access to my experience, or whether you need co-regulation, or whether you need just reflection. You just need somebody to kind of help you know where you're at, right? So the thing attunement is really, really important for small children is that attunement is the thing that helps them build their sense of self. So it helps for them to know who they are, to be able to understand what's going on with inside of them, what's going on with them. It gives them the tools to communicate what's going on inside of them. And so it's really a fundamental, basic piece of 2 of our overarching goals in Landscape of Mothers, which would be to change the dynamics of the family lineage. And then the second is that our goal in raising our children is not to turn them into particular kinds of people that like particular things. They don't have to like what we like. They don't have to be interested in what we're interested in. But what we want to do most is find out what they're interested in and nourish and nurture that so that they can become more wholly and fully themselves, so that they grow up into an adult that is who they are naturally and not necessarily who somebody else thinks that they should be. That is one of the painful things that happens in non-attuned families, is that there can be a great pressure to go to a certain college, to prepare or to play a certain sport or to be good at a musical instrument or something that the parents were good at. And so what's happening is parents are projecting onto their children all of their wishes or incomplete desires. And what our goal in Landscape of Mothers is to nourish and nurture the child who is in front of us, whether that's our inner child or our child in the room. Okay, this one got a little long. I hope it was helpful, though. I wanted to make sure all those things were together because they're so deeply interwoven. It's been a long time kind of for me trying to pull those apart and figure out all the pieces. So I hope that's helpful. If you have any other questions, please do comment below or ask questions below. I will be monitoring this. And another place to start, if you're not ready to ask questions or you just want more information, it would be to grab the Landscape of Mothers book if you don't have it already. And you can do that at Amazon or bookshop.org. Thanks.